down there, I get it out, I go back because I don't have my fob. It's in the car. Usually it won't lock. But it locked. So this young man came out and he said he got in the back and went up and unlocked. That's good. But he found the fob. Well, that's good. That was nice. It really was nice of him. I wish I had gotten his name. He works here in the building. Not many guys would jump in the back, you know, SUV. Yeah. Sure. Right. Very good question. I never can remember this end here already. So it's always safe.
So I wasn't sure where this morning was, and at like 9:15, I was waiting a minute.
Recording in progress.
Oh, and who was?
I saw that, I was like, no. No, I did.
I knew Mark.
Basics.
He's a nice guy. He worked on the bond issue.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
And I went through, public works might have an issue.
He was such a nice guy.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah.
It's time, boys and girls. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to, what is today anyway? The 9th, October 9th, Advanced Plans Committee meeting. And we'll start by roll call.
Committee Member Johnson.
Here.
Committee Member Warren.
Here.
Committee Member McKay.
Here.
Chair Aldrich.
He's still here.
Excellent. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum. I have Committee Member Nix and Miles. Oh, Miles is coming in. Okay. So we do have a quorum. I have Nix and Fry absent.
Okay. And thank you. Now we'll look at the approval of the summary of the minutes for October. Oh, yeah. Where it was. We have a motion for approval in a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Next agenda item, we're going to be talking about the housing trends presentation, and we have Mr. Ronald Tidwell.
And Mr. Chairman, while Mr. Tidwell is approaching the podium, just a little background on this. At our August 14th Advanced Plans Committee meeting, we had some discussion around development, housing development types, trends, and activity throughout Sedgwick County and the Wichita region. We specifically discussed what type of housing is being built, noting what seems to be a significant increase in duplex development for quite some time. As a result, staff did reach out to Mr. Tidwell from the Sedgwick County Appraiser's Office to swing by and provide a brief presentation on housing trends. So Mr. Tidwell was kind enough to come in today and speak. So I'll go ahead and take it away, please.
All right. As introduced, I'm Ronald Tidwell. I am the Chief Deputy Appraiser.
Ronald, you can just say next slide,
Okay.
please.
I do not have 2026's information yet. We are still in the process of completing all of the splits, plats, merges for 2026, but we should have that done probably here in the next couple of weeks. But as you can see, parcel growth has continued to increase pretty rapidly, especially in the last 2 years. Next slide. Where that parcel growth is actually happening is predominantly out northwest, out by the Maze, northwest Wichita, and Goddard, and into the Bel Air and K96 Greenwich corridor has really seen some growth. But growth has happened pretty much all across the county. Next slide. So, new dwelling permits, just to kind of give an idea of where we've been for permits from MABCD and the other jurisdictions that do not use MABCD. We're 2022, 2024, we kind of got back to what we consider the pre-Great Recession normal, which is right around 2,000 permits. Would love to see we get that more steadily, but we're not. This information is as of 2 weeks ago. So for 2025, yes, it is showing a slight decrease, but as of this morning when I reran it, but I'd already created the PowerPoint, new dwelling permits are actually about 11 higher than the same time last year. So construction still seems to be pretty active out there. Next slide. And then as you can see where that new dwelling is happening, let's give a definition of what we consider new residential dwellings. This is your single-family residences, your duplexes, your triplexes, and your quadplexes.
Does a duplex count as two?
Counts as one,
Oh,
because it's a building. It's one building.
it's skewed.
Right. It's one building. It has 2 units, but it's one building. We'll get into that a little bit more here in a minute and stuff. So next slide. Something that we've talked about internally for years has been the age of the housing stock. As you can see on the slide, Wichita, Sedgwick County really took off right out post World War II. The red lines coming down represent the 10%. So that first red line, and prior to that is 10% of the housing stock. The information between the next two lines would be the next 10%. So each red line represents a 10% cut in the housing stock. So 20% of it was built approximately from about 1948 to 1959. So that's still a pretty healthy portion of our housing stock. Next slide, please. All right, so getting into more of the nuts and bolts of what y'all asked for. We classify things by architectural style. This is the list of architectural styles that we currently have been collecting since 2020. Barn dominiums have kind of become something new, and we're picking them up, and we actually had to create an architectural style code because of the number we have of them. Condos continue to be built, and kind of stopped really in 2022. Don't know why, but we haven't had any new condos built. Definition of a conventional is 1.5 story or greater is considered a conventional build. Cottages are less than 600 square feet. Everyone knows what a duplex is. Modern is basically a modern architectural style. More flat, less gabled roofs. Other is modular homes. We've had one bungalow built in the last year that we haven't had a bungalow built since the late 70s. So it was kind of weird. So we got that. I classified that under other here because I didn't want to put an extra line on here. Patio homes continue to be built. Quadplexes, ranches, townhouses, triplexes, twin homes. Twin homes are half of a duplex. And then we have walkout ranches, which basically means you can walk out of the basement of that ranch, of that house. Next slide. So graphically, this is what it looks like. The brown line, the tall brown tower are your ranches. That yellow or gold tower are your duplexes. So the idea that duplexes are taking up more and more of the build is kind of an accurate statement. Next slide. So breaking it down, I kind of group these in. So barn dominiums, condos, traditional builds, which would be your ranches, your walkout ranches, your others. Patio homes, duplexes, and other multifamily would be your triplexes and your quadplexes. You can kind of see here that we are right about a third into duplex twin home category. And this is for Sedgwick County overall. Next slide. This is actually for the city of Wichita. I just forgot to change the header, so I apologize for that. Sorry, this is the prior summary chart broke down, but for Sedgwick County. So as you can see, like I said, 1/3 of them are roughly duplexes. So next slide. Now we're gonna get in the city of Wichita. So then this is the architectural breakdown for the city of Wichita. Duplexes take a bigger chunk here inside the city limits of Wichita. So we'll go to the next slide. And as you can see, graphically, 2023 duplexes and normal range style houses pretty much tied each other. 24 more ranches were built, but now in 25 we're having a lot more ranches, more duplexes built than ranches, not by many, but there are a few more out there. So if you go to the next slide, this will be the summary. Again, we put breaking them down into traditional versus duplexes. And then the last slide is the same information graphed in towers. Next slide. Okay. And as you can see, there's the chart. So hopefully that answered some of the questions y'all had about what we're seeing out there for the last 5-6 years. And I'll stand for questions of the committee.
Yep, Mr. Tidwell, thank you. Would it be possible if we could get a copy of the presentation?
Certainly, I will forward that to all of you post-meeting.
Okay. And quick question. The question was brought up, and you said about the duplexes being one building. How do you tax that? I mean, because they could have separate, owners
If it's separate ownership, it should have been sent through the split process, which would then make them twin homes.
okay.
And so I own half a duplex, or I own half of a duplex, which is a twin home. You own half of duplex, which we would classify as a twin home. And they'd be two separate taxing parcels, two taxing pins, two separate tax bills.
Okay, so even though it's a duplex, once it becomes private ownership on both sides, then you refer to it as twin home then.
Right.
What part of Sedgwick County has seen the most growth? What area has seen the most growth?
Can we go back a few slides?
Yeah, we couldn't see it real good.
We're going back towards the beginning.
I think it would be one of the heat maps, potentially.
Okay, so this is where parcels are being platted and stuff. So as like I said here, this yellow dot really represents.
Yeah, you broke it. No, just kidding.
We go back to the other heat map.
If we could go back to the parcel growth map, the heat map that was just up there, please. Perfect.
This would be Mays. This would be this line. This right here is 119th Street, and this right here sits right around 29th Street. I happen to know that because I live at 119th and 29th, so I've got really good with this area. So this is that Fontana, bunch of those there's three streets of duplexes in this general vicinity. And there's also some duplexes being built north of Fontana. And then up north a little bit closer to 37th Street and 119th is a mixed development of single family and duplexes going in the same development. Now if we go forward 2 slides to the residential growth.
If you could go forward 2 slides to the residential growth slide, please.
And also, could you go back to the podium for the, it's being recorded, plus that we can
Sorry, I was
hear
just
you
trying to
better.
very good.
There is a mouse, there should be a mouse there that you can.
Okay, yeah.
point
Sorry,
at.
there's my house. Got it. So this bright spot right here would be, again, 119th and 29th Street area that we're seeing development in. This would be right along the 96 corridor and Ridge Road. This area out here is Bel Air, and Bel Air's had a lot of expansion. And then you get down here to this little area, and it's the Goddard, city of Goddard.
Okay, appreciate it. Any additional questions for Mr. Tidwell? See none? Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Next agenda item is the accessory apartment approval process. Justin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Justin Constantino with the Planning Department, here to talk about accessory apartments and our approval process. Next slide, please. So the recommended action, this is what is on your staff report, is to recommend that the full MAPC initiate a review and amendment process for the Unified Zoning Code regarding the review and approval process for accessory apartments, and provide guidance to staff regarding potential revisions to the accessory apartment review and approval process. We'll get into that a little bit more on the next few slides. So next slide, please. A little bit of an overview of what we will be discussing. Background on kind of how this topic arose. We'll discuss our current conditional use process, the definition of accessory apartments, just to make sure we're all on the same page. An accessory apartment analysis. Staff did a little bit of research on this topic, so we want to present that to you. The review process, should we proceed with this item, how that approval process will look, and then again, the recommended action. So next slide, please. A little bit of background. We discussed this topic at our last Advanced Plans Committee meeting on September 11th. Advanced Plans Committee members inquired with staff about the guidelines of our conditional use process for approving specifically accessory apartments. Staff indicated at that September 11th meeting that we would review the number of permits received and how accessory apartments fit into the larger conversation of housing and development within Wichita and Sedgwick County. Next slide, please. So just a reminder on what our current conditional use approval process is. An application would be submitted and then public notices would be distributed 20 days prior to the public hearing at the MAPC. County advisory boards and district advisory boards would have an opportunity to hear that case as well. If recommended or if approved, there would be a 14-day protest period before it would go to the governing body for final approval. The conditional use can permit specific uses not permitted by right in a zoning district based on an approved site plan and supplementary use regulations. We did include an example staff report of a conditional use case for an accessory apartment in your packet. We also ended up printing off a separate page highlighting those supplementary use regulations. Those are placed in front of you prior to the meeting. The Unified Zoning Code details when and where conditional uses are permitted. As I mentioned before, the process does require a site plan approval and a public hearing before the MAPC. Next slide, please. Oh, yes, sir.
Maybe you're gonna get to this, but since a accessory apartment is owned by the owner of the home,
Correct.
it's not. Joe, I can't.
Yeah, can you,
Since an accessory apartment is owned by the house you're adding on to, then it would not be a new dwelling unit. Is that correct?
It's considered a dwelling unit, but it has to be the same owner.
But would that be for permitting purposes?
For permitting purposes, I believe it would all go to it would be under the same ownership for both the primary dwelling unit and the accessory dwelling unit. I kind of get into the definition of it a little bit and kind of,
Wouldn't count as an additional dwelling unit.
it would be a separate dwelling unit, but it has to be owned by the primary property owner. So two separate units, two separate dwelling units, one owner.
But a duplex is only one.
Yeah, a duplex would be one,
So why
one
would-
unit.
So why wouldn't an accessory apartment be one?
Yeah, if you have any insight into the breakdown.
A duplex is one building unit. It's picked up as one, in the appraisal world, it is picked up as one building unit, but would have basically doubled the square foot of half of that unit. There are several of these accessory apartments out there right now, and yes, they are data collected and appraised as a separate dwelling unit as part of the total value of the parcel, since we value at a parcel basis.
They're detached, aren't they?
They would be detached, yes.
So that would be the reason why it'd be separate.
Right.
Because they're detached. Yes.
Right, because they're detached.
Some of them are attached, right?
Yeah, there are some, I can think of one that I data collected back in 2008 when I was a data collector, that had the accessory apartment, quote unquote, have the same common wall as the house, and that all actually just became one dwelling unit, and that square footage was just added into the primary dwelling because it shared a common wall.
I was just trying to make sure we had apples to apples in your graphs.
Okay.
Great question. Thank you. I will address the supplementary use regulations that I mentioned before. So accessory apartments are subject to those supplementary use regulations within the Unified Zoning Code. Just to briefly go through those, a maximum of one accessory apartment may be allowed on the same lot as a single-family dwelling unit. This kind of answers your question, Commissioner Johnson, about it may be located within the main building as an accessory building or constructed as an accessory building. The appearance shall be compatible with the main dwelling unit. The accessory apartment shall remain accessory to and under the same ownership as the principal single-family dwelling unit. And water and sewer service provided by the accessory structure shall not be provided as a separate service from the main dwelling. Next slide, please. Additional supplementary use regulation information, just regarding setbacks, they shall not be located nearer to the front property line than the principal structure. Side setbacks may not utilize more than 1/2 of any required side yard. Heights shall not exceed 60% of the allowable height requirements of the zoning district. Next slide, please. Here's kind of a visual of what we were just talking about. The image on the right kind of depicts what an accessory apartment would look like if it was attached, if it was detached. Just so you all are aware, the Unified Zoning Code defines an accessory apartment as an accessory use dwelling unit that can be wholly within or may be detached from a single-family dwelling unit. Next slide, please. So after our discussion at our September meeting, staff wanted to go back and look at conditional use cases, specifically accessory apartment cases, and how many cases we have looked at over the course of the last 5 years, dating from 2021 to the present. We discussed that there seemed to be somewhat of an uptick in conditional use cases for accessory apartments in 2025. That suspicion was correct. We did have 20, so far in 2025, we've had 22 conditional use cases for accessory apartments. Big upswing from 2024 where we only had 7. But it's been fairly steady over the course of the last 5 years. We've had 71 total cases. Of those cases, the majority, 58%, have been located in the county, while 42% were located in the city. We went back and looked at the approval of all those cases. all of them were ultimately approved. So 100% of the cases that were seen from 2021 to 2025 were approved. Next slide, please. So options, this is kind of the heart of our discussion today. There's two different options, actually three different options. One would be to recommend that staff develop amendments to the Unified Zoning Code that would allow for accessory apartments to be approved by right. The second option would be to recommend that staff develop draft amendments to the Unified Zoning Code that would create an administrative permit process where the planning director, in concurrence with the zoning administrator, would approve applications for accessory apartments if certain conditions are met. So think what we just recently did with daycares, what we've been doing with short-term rentals. The third option would be to recommend no changes to the current process and codes and continue to utilize our existing conditional use process for those accessory apartment approvals. Next slide, please. Again, the review process, just to kind of lay out what it would look like should we pursue to make, should we decide to make amendments to Unified Zoning Code or adapt an administrative approval process. We would start with here, the Advanced Plans Committee. Any recommendations would go to the MAPC. In turn, those approvals would go to the Board of County Commissioners and the Wichita City Council as it is a joint Unified Zoning Code. Next slide, please. Just to reiterate the recommended action for today, this is what is on your staff report. Recommend the full MAPC initiate a review and amendment process of the UZC regarding the review and approval process for accessory apartments and provide guidance to staff regarding potential revisions and where we'd like to see this item go in the near future. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Justin. One of the topics that hadn't come up on this and that Commissioner McKay brought up had to do with accessory apartments in the county and proper land use as far as acreage goes. We had a case here that had 70 some acres on it, and instead of just doing the approximately 3 acres where the site was going to be, it wound up encompassing the entire acreage, and that's where flags started flying on there. So how's that gonna be addressed where it basically whittled down to only the site and not the entire acreage property?
Yeah, I remember that we had some discussion about conditional uses and when a conditional use permit is approved, it stays with the whole property in perpetuity. I know that when we did our research, we didn't specifically look at the acreages approved for each additional conditional use case, but we can certainly look into that a little bit further.
And Scott Wadle, I would just add that thank you for bringing up that question. And because of the dialogue that's taken place in the agenda review sessions, our current plan staff are planning to add conditions to all future accessory apartment cases to ensure that the accessory apartment is associated, the permission is associated with a particular address, so that if the property at some point gets subdivided, that the approval for the accessory apartment would only remain with that address and not with future parcels that are created.
But my concern is how big is the address? What size is the address as far as acreage? Is it an acre? Is it 3 acres? Is it 30 acres, 40 acres? You know, that could, you know, it could be a big address is what I'm saying. So that's why I think where the discussion and the concern came up, that if they're gonna do a site plan of only, let's say, 3 acres, the conditional use should only be limited to that of the site plan and not encompass any more than that.
So we actually, I'm glad you brought this up because we had a discussion yesterday, a coordination discussion with MABCD. As part of that, planning department will be coordinating better with them on getting them approved site plans, because as you indicated, cases when they're approved, a requirement, a condition of the approval is often that they would submit a site plan and it must be approved. So we're going to make sure that MABCD gets a copy of that, because recently we had a case where someone came in, they had a site plan that got approved, and then when they did the construction, they built it outside of the area where they had located on the site plan. So that case is currently going through enforcement. So yes, to answer your question in terms of the size of the acreage and where exactly the accessory apartment is going to be located, that should be detailed on the site plan, and will have to be detailed on the site plan for it to be approved.
But shouldn't that be actually noted as part, not only of the application, but of the conditions?
It should, and I believe that it is, as I'm gonna look through here.
Not that I've seen.
Yeah, you're right. It's not in this example, but I do know that we do require it. So let me do a little bit more digging through this and see if I can find where that requirement is mentioned.
Yeah, I
But you're
just think
right. It
things
should be
need to be in
delineated.
writing, otherwise people are gonna assume, and that's gonna create a loophole or.
Yes, here's where it is that what you have is you've got a section of the staff report that is the background, and it talks about the supplementary use regulations, and then it also identifies the development standards in another section of the code. So there's two different things coming into play there. But the third one that covers the requirement for the site plan is actually contained under the recommendation. So sorry, Justin, when Justin and I talked about this earlier, I was like, yeah, let's make sure we get these two things. I forgot about the third, so I'm glad you brought this up, Mr. Aldridge. So if you go to the attachment to your staff report for this one, there's a current plan staff report which shows an accessory apartment con 2025-00110.
Which page is it on you?
It's on that particular staff report. This one. Let me page
And it says
through it.
page 3 at the bottom of that staff report.
So you have this staff report, which, sorry, I've doodled on mine, but you have this staff report, and then in the attachment on the back, attached to it is a staff report for an accessory apartment. And down at the bottom, it will say page 3, you'll see the recommendation. And you'll notice there are 1, 2, 3 conditions that are recommended to be included. And the second one is that development of the site shall be in conformance with the approved site plan. So that's where you'll see that condition.
But where does that, or, I get my question is that doesn't limit the size that it could be. So that site plan, could, in theory, could it be 50 acres or 60 acres?
That is correct. It could, yes. That would be something that would have to be deliberated if you wanted to confine it to a smaller area as part of the case.
Well, I think that's what the concern is, because somebody can go in there and say, hey, here's my site plan, it's 70-some acres, but we're only going to be developing as far as the accessory apartments on, let's say, 3 acres, and you've accomplished nothing. You still got that rest of that property out there, and then by right, why can't they go out there and just keep on building? It's already been approved.
Well, the accessory apartment will limit them to one accessory apartment on the property. So if they wanted to build additional ones, they would either have to come back, they would have to come back for another zoning action.
The thing that raised my attention to start with was the fact that we had, I think it was 4 cases and over 100 and some odd acres of ground. And the rule for that large amount accessory apartment is not the same as 1744 North XYZ Street, because you're talking about a limited platted piece of ground that has a legal description and an address. A lot of this county stuff, the only thing I can see would be to do is, I think in some number of your cases in the county, they don't even have an address. They have a post office box, a rural box. And to me, that's the part that can be easily, over a period of time, taken advantage of, I guess you might want to say.
I think it's a great point, and I can point, and we've got an example where that took place, not to take advantage of it, but rather as part of the development process, the developer had a very sizable piece of property that they eventually platted, I think, into 100 lots or something like that. As part of their zoning action for that case, they requested a conditional use in order to allow accessory apartments prior to doing subdividing the property. So therefore, every lot that's in that subdivision then has the ability has a conditional use to allow for an accessory apartment. So instead of, 100 single-family homes, we end up with 100 single-family homes plus an additional option for 100 accessory apartments in that larger property. So I think the issue and the point of making sure that somehow the accessory apartment, which is limited to one, is associated with a specific piece of property so that they can't do that in the future without coming through and asking for another zoning request. I think that's been very insightful for us. And so we are working to address that, as you'll see in the next cases that come forward to you.
It just needs to be published. It needs to be put down
Yes,
in
well,
writing, otherwise it's gonna fall through the, yeah.
yeah, we will. So we're working on that. We will have a condition that you'll see that you'll be able to evaluate as part of the future cases. We don't have that yet. I know that our current plan staff are working on it, and we can work on getting that draft from them as part of this research as well.
Shouldn't we have that in place before we proceed to move this on, make recommendations?
Well, part of the question that's in front of you is, and we know that you prefer to see items at least twice before you take action on them, but we always want to give you the option that you could. So we always present the language so that you've got it in case you want to take action. But really the first question before you, as Justin brought up, is do you want to have the MAPC initiate this as a formal amendment to the code? You don't have to do that today. We can continue to do research. You just tell us what kind of research you want, and we'll continue to provide that. And then the second question that we have for you, though, is given the number of cases that have been approved, which is 100%, and thank you, Justin and team, for going back and looking at that information, given that 100% of them have been approved, do you want to continue with the same process, which requires a conditional use and going out to the CABs or the DABs and then going to the MAPC and then going to the governing body? Or do you want a more streamlined review process? And part of that is making sure that we have the right conditions that are associated with it. Because you'll notice both those options, or all those options, the two changes, was if they meet certain conditions. Because we want to make sure that it's the non-controversial cases that are getting a streamlined approach, and the more complex or controversial ones get a more thorough review.
You tell me what should be preferable for the staff as far as that's concerned, from a standpoint of we bring these in and 90% of them are done by carte blanche. And so you guys spend 2 or 3 hours on it and we spend 2 or 3 minutes. And if we're talking about utilization of time, money, and effort, I'm saying to you that we in the past, if there's an issue comes up that we felt like is important enough to study it, we come up with a recommendation primarily for your benefit as much as ours, because I can see this conditional use getting way out of hand in the near future.
Well, here's what I would suggest then is that if you have some concerns about it, but at the same time you still think we want to kind of streamline it, because my recommendation is if we're going through this process every time and we're coming up with the same answer, which is it should be approved, that generally my takeaway from that is that generally these are not controversial items. But at the same time, if you want to have a level of review that's maybe not quite where we are, but not to the point where everything is automatically by right, then kind of the middle of the road would be doing an administrative permit. And what that means is that an application is filed, staff review it, and then the planning director and the zoning administrator sign off on it if it meets those criteria. And if we don't, then or if it's controversial and members of the surrounding properties protesting it, then we deny it, and then they have the option of coming back for the regular process, which is a conditional use.
I like that idea.
I like that idea as well, and I think we're going to see more and more of these as we see an aging population and more people that are going to take care of their parents or whatever. So I can see that it would be valid for us to go that route.
See, Cindy, that was the original idea of the conditional use. But you just got through saying for parents, grandparents, take care of them because they can be there at home. And it's gotten away from that now. We used to say on the deal with the planning commission, take care of my parents or grandparents or something to that effect. We don't do that anymore. We say conditional use law.
Mother-in-law house.
Well, you know, and mother-in-law don't live forever. All I was trying to say is that we are not in a position, based on the rules, to know what the rules are for conditional use. I think it ought to be a little bit different in the county than it is in the city, whether it's by address or by legal description, like I could very easily say in the county. It had to be within a certain period of the area of the building that's presently there, and have them just do a preliminary sketch or have it like a building permit sketch.
Well, we're happy to continue the conversation, and we can bring back maybe a more, we just did what was quick and simple and we thought would give you an idea of kind of where we're at today. The next step is if you're interested in exploring this some more, we can draw up a list of all those conditions, and there would be additional ones that we would recommend dealing with the size. We really don't want these things to be bigger than the primary unit. We don't want it to dwarf it. We've already got the location covered, but I think there may be some other things that we may want to address. We can bring back those ideas to you, and you can look over those and let us know if we're in the right direction. But you're right, in the county, the conditions might be different than in the city, right? Because there's sometimes different things that people are concerned about. Well, that one I think we'll probably keep the same, and if they want to do something different, like they want to have separate, like we saw in that recent case, that may be one that would have to go through the regular process, but yeah.
Certain conditions start certain things.
And that was the whole purpose. I don't think there was a whole lot of concern as far as accessory apartments in the city. All the issues and concerns are more out in the county. So, but as far as the three conditions given, I like the second one. And I think the consensus is that the recommend the staff to develop the draft amendments to the UZC that will create administrative process, that one. And I think that's probably sound like that might be what the recommendation would be, but I think that there needs to be some cleanup and
John,
on this.
what you're saying is they're getting out of hand if they just become general apartments.
I'm saying it's not out of hand at this point, but it could
Right.
get out of hand very fast.
In what
And he
sense?
gave the perfect example of the people came in, platted 100 acres or 100 lots and wanted accessory apartments on each one of them. To me, that's not single-family housing, that's duplex, it's duplex zoning.
Or multifamily.
Well, or multifamily, what do you want to call it? So, you know, the American way is if you got a rule, let's see if we can't exploit it or whatever we're gonna do. And that's where I'm afraid it'll come down the line.
People figure out a way around it.
Yeah. So what's, whatever the consensus is of the commission here, but I think that, maybe we ought to defer this until the next one, and that whether you can clean things up.
Let's start with number 2.
Well,
Start with number 2, yeah.
certainly, what we can do is, you don't actually, in that case, you don't have to take any formal action. You as the chair can just choose to have it on the agenda for the next meeting. And what we'll do is we'll do some additional research, and based on this, our understanding is that there seems to be a general consensus to explore the option of the administrative permit and what that would look like.
Yep.
I'm gonna look back to JR and to Justin, and based on our existing administrative permits, which are for short-term rentals, and also then for cell towers, but I don't think that's as applicable. But for short-term rentals, I don't know that it'll take too much effort to kind of create at least a framework for how this might work. And enough to give you something that you can kind of look at and make edits or
Yeah,
changes to.
I think this thing's really, really, really close, just a little critiquing. So if that's, sounds good to the board here, we'll just go ahead and defer it, until, our next scheduled meeting,
That sounds great.
okay? Is that okay with you, Mr.
That's
Justin?
perfect. I really appreciate the discussion and the feedback, so thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to our next item. the
Mr.
event
Chairman?
centers. Yes,
If I can interrupt, I thought of a question I'd like to ask Mr. Tidwell. Can we have him come back up before we go to the next item?
yes, sir, yes, sir.
Sir,
Mr. Tidwell, when we look at applications for duplex zoning, we get a lot of people that are concerned about how that's going to affect the value of their properties. Do you have any feel for the effect? Have you seen property values go down because duplexes have gone into an area? You got an opinion on that?
I have a very lively opinion on this one, actually. Like I said, I live at the corner of 119th and 29th Street North. I do not live in Fontana. I live south of Fontana. But I've had 3 sales in my neighborhood. Literally the house across the street from me, the house 3 doors down from me, and the house. I've had 3 sales in the last 30 days in my neighborhood, literally on my street, that were listed for 310, 340, and 360. They got 315, 348, and 370. That are all within sight distance of 300 duplexes. Fontana, which is on the north side of 29th Street there, which is literally across the street from these duplexes and built and duplexes being built immediately to their north, are still selling for $750,000. Are there areas where duplexes may be impacting values? Potentially, but in the generalization, no, duplexes are not having a negative impact on the grand scheme of values or sale prices.
That was my opinion, but I was glad to be able to, you could confirm on that. So thank you. Appreciate your comment.
George Box again. Do you have any way to, I know you do have it, to give us an analogy of how many outside the city of Wichita owners own these duplexes? Because I know a lot of investment people from the east and west coast have come in here, invested their money in Wichita because it's just cheaper to do business here than it is.
The problem with ownerships, especially of duplexes and large duplex categories, are a lot of them are in LLCs. And then they have a resident agent that's here in the state of Kansas, and you start chasing the LLC down and you end up in Delaware, North Dakota, or Arizona, where you get locked out and can't find out who actually owns the LLC. But it could be. And I'm going to give you a prime example. There's a development up north near Park City that is all duplexes. It is owned by an LLC. That LLC is owned by an LLC. That LLC is owned by another LLC out of Delaware. But we know, because the person has come in and filed an appeal every single year on these duplexes, and he owns them, that he's actually a Wichita native. But his LLC was established in Delaware, and then because he's trying to hide his identity.
And where was that at, Park City?
Just west of Park City, yeah.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you, sir. Next item is the event centers in the county. This is receive and file information.
Good morning again, committee members and Mr. Chairman, Justin Constantino with the Planning Department, here to talk about event centers in the county. We've been talking about this item for a little while now. Back in June, on June 12th, staff presented proposed changes to the Unified Zoning Code to all of you in preparation for a recommendation to the full MAPC. The item was deferred to our October 2025 meeting, so this meeting, with a recommendation for the Board of County Commissioners to consider the item at a future staff meeting. We had a lot of discussion about event centers and the proposed language in the Unified Zoning Code, and we decided that it would be best if we brought that update to the Board of County Commissioners at a staff meeting, which is what we did. So staff presented the proposed changes to the UZC to the Board of County Commissioners at their regularly scheduled staff meeting on August 19th. Mr. Chairman, you were in attendance at that meeting. The feedback on those UZC changes was generally positive. As a result of that, and since early September, a staff team consisting of representatives from the Sedgwick County Counselor's Office, the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office, MABCD, and the Planning Department has met 2 separate times to discuss the language in the draft code, specifically regarding enforcement. So what happens if there's an event happening and they've had multiple complaints? Sheriff's Office goes out, what can we do to enforce the language? So the staff team will actually reconvene again tomorrow on September 10th for a 3rd time to review additional language that was provided by the Sedgwick County Counselor's Office. And we intend to present the full proposed changes to the Unified Zoning Code to all of you at a date in the near future. So again, this is a receive and file item. Staff has been meeting fairly regularly to look at the existing code language that was presented back in June, and we're likely going to be making some modifications to that language, and we will present it to you at a future date.
Justin, also at that meeting, Chair Beatty also gave me the impression, I think everybody else, that he wanted a follow-up meeting, workshop with the Board of County Commissioners. Is that going to occur with the updates that you have?
Yes, sir. I believe that is our intent. We plan to, again, get together as a staff and kind of formalize that draft language in the Unified Zoning Code. And then ideally, we would be meeting with the Board of County Commissioners at a future staff meeting prior to bringing that all of you. So again, it would be an open meeting where all of you would be encouraged to attend to see how those discussions play out.
Yeah, when you get that, when y'all get that scheduled, I'd definitely like to be informed of the.
Certainly. We'll send out an invitation to all of the Advanced Plans Committee members. So
I appreciate it. Thank you. Any questions for Justin? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Sure.
Now we will move on to the Midtown Neighborhood Plan update.
Good morning again, Justin Constantino with the Planning Department. You may recall, spring 2024, the Midtown Neighborhood Association, they expressed some interest in updating their existing 2004 Midtown Neighborhood Plan. On May 8th, the city of Wichita released a request for proposals for the new Midtown Neighborhood Plan in 2025, seeking qualified consultants to lead the planning process. We did receive 3 submissions. On August 12th, our 9-member selection committee consisting of representatives from the Midtown Neighborhood Association, the City Council, Board of County Commissioners, and city and county staff members met to review those 3 proposals. The general consensus of the selection committee was to interview 2 consultants for the Midtown Neighborhood Plan. We reconvened on September 17th, so that was just a few weeks ago, to interview those 2 candidates. And through that process, a preferred candidate was selected. The purchasing department is currently in the process of finalizing and drafting the agreement with that consultant, and we hope to have that finalized shortly. Additionally, in addition to the consultant search, staff has posted the application to serve on the Midtown Neighborhood Plan Steering Committee. We posted that on September 11th. The application was open for about 3 weeks. It was posted on the city website as well as social media pages and our constant contact emails. on October 3rd, staff extended the application deadline for an additional 2 weeks to October 17th. So for those interested, those who are following along at home to this meeting, for those interested, they can submit their application via the wichita.gov website. There is a Midtown Neighborhood Plan webpage there. They can access that link to the onboard application process to apply. So again, that application deadline is October 17th to serve on the steering committee for the plan. That concludes my update on Midtown, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Justin? Justin, thank you. Appreciate it. Next agenda item is the MAPD updates. Mr. Waddle.
Yes, sir. So I'll just refer to the handout as usual. On page 2, we look at our non-subdivision cases. As of the end of October, we were at 212. We've had a little bit of a lull in terms of cases. We've still been busy, but it's not been as the number of cases hasn't been as substantial as it was earlier in the year, which has been nice. As we get to, I guess what I want to point out is that in November, I don't want to scare you too much, but in November, your November 23rd meeting, I believe, we received, it's November 13th. We have about 23 cases on the agenda. So it's been nice that we've had a lull for about a period of about 2 months, but we'll have a substantial number of cases there in November for you. So we're working on that. But overall, our case numbers, though, we're going to close higher than we were, more cases than we had last year. So, but probably fewer than we had in 2023, but still very robust. In terms of the average number of cases at the MAPC, our average on this table is 11, which is, we estimate that we can handle about 10 comfortably. So that's worked out okay. But again, it's been very spiky in terms of our average is an average. It doesn't represent the maximum and the minimum. On page 3, you can see the graphic that shows, again, it does not represent or include the November meeting that's going to be coming up. So we'll have that for the next one, but it'll be quite busy. The bottom of the table, all the highlighted cells are meetings where it exceeded our number that staff can handle comfortably. So we've been busy. On subdivision cases, the story there is that, again, another robust year, not a record breaker, but robust nonetheless. And so on the bottom of page 4, you'll see that the number of lots is significantly lagging where we were last year. And I find that so interesting with the appraiser's office information about what's being built out. A lot of the plats that we've seen come through subdivision committee have been smaller plats that are out in the county, and it's like 4 lots, 5 lots. So not as many of the substantial sized 100 lots that we'd seen last year, but still a fair number, but not as many. In terms of the split city and county, I think it will always be this way, that the majority are in the county. It's just by the nature of the way that development occurs. So nothing too surprising there. And then page 5 is just the table and another graph that shows the number of cases coming to the MAPC. On page 6, and I do want to recognize Raquel for putting this together. Thanks again for putting together the entire document, but especially for your effort on this. So what we've done is these are the administrative adjustments, and you'll notice we have a new table of information, the 2025 case category distribution, and there you'll see that the overwhelming majority of administrative adjustments that have been processed and approved in 2025 have been for setbacks. And the planning director can approve modifications to setbacks of up to 20%. And so just so everyone knows, is we're not eliminating them, it's just, again, allowing people to do kind of those shifts to accommodate. Often it's for a garage or a swimming pool or some kind of accessory structure that they want to build. In a few cases, it's been for duplexes or buildings that needed a little bit more space in order to accommodate the frame of the structure. So, so there's those. Then on page 7, our staffing is very stable. It's similar to what you saw last month. On page 8, our website, it's always fun to kind of see what's the top gets the most hits or most reviews. And so in September, it was many of the standard ones, except for at the bottom, I find this so interesting. The East Douglas Street Plan made it into the top 5, and I'm not really sure why, because we don't really have any specific projects that are taking place there. So kind of interesting. Short-term rentals in the city, we're going steady with that. We're seeing licenses get renewed now. We're in the process of trying to hire the part-time position, and we've got interviews for that, the part-time position that does enforcement. Short-term rentals in the county, that'll be one of those topics hopefully for the staff meeting in the future. The solar energy conversion systems, that got wrapped up on the county side. We are scheduling that for, looks like November 11th is what we're aiming.
We were aiming for November 11th. I was informed that is Veterans Day, so there will not be a meeting on that day. So it looks like based on the city council schedule, we'll be angling for early December potentially.
Thank you, Justin.
Scott, I got a quick question on the short-term rentals.
Yes, sir.
Since the process for requiring permits went into effect, do you have that number on how many total permits have been submitted and how many has been approved?
Yes. It will take me just a little bit to look that up. So we have 2 different categories. We have zoning actions, and then we have licensing. For the zoning actions, it appears that we have about 311 entered into the system. And I would say all but a handful of those have been approved through the administrative permit process. There have been a few, I think they're pretty memorable because we generally get a pretty big crowd that comes out for those. I would say that it's probably a handful or less.
Well, based on the numbers that we had prior, that the reason why it was felt that we needed to do something, there was well over 500 operations that were operating illegally out there, basically. And so out of that, and you got 311 year to date, so you still have over 200 possibly that are non-conforming, correct?
We could. Those numbers of how many are operating in a community will change over time. Maybe what we could do is, I don't really have all the stats here. I could look it up, but I don't want to take too much time for you. But we could perhaps put it on the agenda to do more of a review of what's happened this year and last year with short-term rentals, if you're interested. And there we could pull up our enforcement system and you could see.
When does the anniversary on that, since it went into effect? Because it hasn't been a year yet, has it?
I think it has. I think it's November. I think it might have been approved in November. So,
Okay.
and I think that was a couple of years. It's
Yeah,
gone by quick.
Maybe something at the end of the year or first part of the year that would, so you would have a whole year to
Okay.
look at it.
Yeah, yes, sir. We can work on that. Yep.
Thank you.
Let's see. Then we've got solar energy conversion. So early December, we're looking at that for the city council. Public notifications for the city. This is one that will be coming to you. And that's, am I correct on that, Justin?
Yes, you are. Public notifications, we will be bringing that to you at the November Advanced Plans Committee meeting. Thanks, Mamita.
So a little bit of an update on that one. And then development signs in the county, that's in place. I need to work with the city and see if they would like to join in on that as well. Event centers in the county, we've talked about that one. College Hill overlay, continue to work on with a staff team on that one. And then we hope to bring it out to the steering committee that's working on that sometime soon. Parking and zoning, we're looking at forming a steering committee on that, and we received, gosh, what was it, Momita, like 32? 35 applications to serve on the steering committee for both, and it's a joint steering committee for both the zoning code updates related to parking and the comprehensive plan related to future land use guide and 2 other things. So that was wonderful, and the diversity in terms of the work experience and the perspectives that people bring, I'm pretty excited about that. So we've got a really good pool of applicants for the electeds to pick from. So that went to the mayor and the chairman for them.
You're still
to
gonna keep that
appointments.
at 11 to 15 people, correct?
That's
As long as
my
you don't have a bunch of
recommendation.
naysayers.
Well, you want to have a few naysayers because in my perspective, it's always good to have those conversations on the committee and get it all hashed out. So anyway, I think I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited to see who the mayor and the chairman choose to appoint on that
And
one.
when do you think that's going to occur?
We've submitted those applications to them, so it's just a matter of checking in with them to see when they're comfortable or if they have any other, if they need any additional information or if there's anything else we can do to help them out with that.
Okay.
So that's the comp plan update and the zoning code, parking and zoning. And then for daycare and zoning, I think we're wrapped up on that. It's just a matter of seeing how implementation goes.
Great. I don't see anybody from the public, so we get to bypass that. So if yes, Commissioner McKay?
I have one question. On the meeting that's gonna be so big in November, I guess I got two questions. How many of those are conditional uses?
Ooh, let me look that
How
up.
many of them?
For the
I guess
meeting?
controversial is what I guess I'm trying to come up with.
Controversial. That's a little bit hard for me to tell you right off the bat. So sometimes we do. We just received these on Monday. So we have not sent out the public notices on these yet, so we don't have a good handle on what kind of reaction they'll get. But for instance, there's a couple of variances on there. There are a couple of conditional uses for personal improvement services. There's an accessory apartment. There's a group residence. There's some vehicle and equipment outdoor sales on there. It's really a pretty diverse assortment of cases that are coming in.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? We don't have anything else. Our next meeting is gonna be the 13th of November. Excuse me, yeah, that's right, November. Hope to see everybody there. I believe that's it, so we're gonna be adjourned.
Recording stopped.